Hi, this is Chris Walker. So picture this, you finally pull the trigger. You buy that stunning, razor-thin 65-inch 4K OLED you've been eyeing for 6 months. It's gorgeous. You get it mounted, you dim the lights, you fire up Dune, and then the sound kicks in. And it sounds like tin cans, like the actors are whispering at you through a cardboard tube. It's tragic, right? But here's the thing manufacturers don't tell you. Physics is undefeated. You cannot get cinema sound out of a TV that's thinner than your smartphone. It's just not happening. And that sends you down the rabbit hole, the soundbar loop. You look online and it's a mess. You've got $1,000 systems that cost more than the TV, and you've got $99 plastic bars that actually sound worse than the TV speakers. But right in the middle, that $300 to $500 sweet spot, that is the absolute Wild West. Some of these are incredible, and some are total e-waste wrapped in fancy marketing terms like virtual height enhancement. Today, we are cutting through the noise. I spent $2,000 of my own budget buying the top-rated bars under $500 to find the one that actually delivers. Look, we don't take free units from brands because I need to be able to tell you if a subwoofer sounds like a wet sock without worrying about an email from a PR rep. That's why your support actually matters here. If you want real, unfiltered reviews that protect your wallet, do me a favor, hit that like button and subscribe. It tells the algorithm that honesty still counts for something, and it helps me pay for all this gear. Here is the reality of the audio market right now. You have two choices. You can pay for physics or you can pay for convenience. You rarely get both under $500. See, brands have realized that most people live in open concept spaces or apartments where they can't run wires across the floor. So they invented this term, virtual Dolby Atmos. It's everywhere. It's on the box of $40 speakers at the pharmacy, and it is mostly nonsense. Virtual means the bar uses software tricks, psychoacoustics, to trick your brain into thinking a helicopter is flying over your head. It's cool science, but let's be real, it's a parlor trick. It's not the same as actually moving air. If you want the real thing, the theater experience where the floor shakes and you instinctively duck when a plane flies over in Top Gun, you need discrete audio. You need physical drivers pointing at the ceiling and physical speakers behind your head. And that brings us to the elephant in the room, the one system that on paper shouldn't exist at this price point. This is the Vizio M-Series M512A-H6. I know, Vizio model names sound like Wi-Fi passwords, but stay with me. This is a 5.1.2 system. That 5 means 5 surround channels. The 1 is the subwoofer, and that 2 is the secret sauce. That means 2 actual up-firing speakers built into the bar that bounce sound off your ceiling. Most bars in this price range are 2.1 or maybe 3.1. They give you a left, a right, and a center. Vizio gives you the whole enchilada. You get the bar, you get a wireless subwoofer that you put in the back of the room, and then, here's the kicker, you plug these 2 little satellite speakers into the subwoofer. Now, I can hear some of you groaning. Chris, I don't want wires. I get it. It's messy. You have to hide cables running from that subwoofer to the little rear speakers. It's not true wireless. But here is why you put up with it. I fired up Blade Runner 2049, the scene where the seawall breaks. On a standard bar, it's loud. On this Vizio, it is terrifying. Because you have those physical rear speakers, the water isn't just in front of you, it's rushing past you. And because of those up-firing drivers, the rain sounds like it's hitting your roof. I measured the bass extension on this sub, and it hits down to about 45 hertz. That is the difference between hearing an explosion and feeling it in your chest cavity. In terms of raw audio performance per dollar, nothing else on this table touches this. It sounds like a $1,000 system. But, and there is always a but with Vizio, we have to talk about the Vizio jankiness. Look, I love the sound, but living with this thing can be like dating someone who is incredibly attractive but refuses to text you back. It's the firmware. We call it the HDMI handshake of death. About once a week during my testing, I'd turn on my TV and the soundbar just wouldn't wake up, or the audio would be out of sync. You have to get up, unplug the power, wait 10 seconds, and plug it back in. It's a known issue. Vizio patches it, it gets better, then it gets weird again. And the remote. This remote is a crime against humanity. It's got this tiny, unlit LCD screen that is impossible to read in a dark movie room. You're squinting at it, trying to adjust the bass levels, and you end up changing the equalizer by mistake. It feels cheap. It feels like a budget product. So here is the verdict on the Vizio M series. If you are a cinema-first person, if you're willing to hide some wires and reboot the thing once a week to get sound that scares your cat, this is the one. It's the performance king. But if you want something that just works every single time you press the button, keep watching because the next few options are way more polished. Actually, before we get to the wireless smart bars, I need your help for the next round of testing. I'm looking at doing a deep dive into either budget 4K projectors or noise-canceling headphones for travel. Which one is more of a headache for you right now? Or is there a specific model that you think is a scam? Let me know in the comments below. I read the first hour of comments personally, so get in there. Okay, let's pivot. Let's say you live in an apartment, or maybe you just refuse to have speakers cluttering up your coffee table. You want the set it and forget it option. That brings us to the Polk Audio Signa S4.
Polk is an old-school American audio company. They aren't trying to be a tech company like Sonos, they just make speakers. The Signa S4 is a 3.1.2 system. That means 3 channels in the bar, left, right, center, a wireless subwoofer, and 2 up-firing drivers for Atmos. No rear speakers, no wires running across your rug. The setup experience here is night and day compared to Vizio. You plug it in, you connect the HDMI ARC cable, and that's it. It just works. The remote is simple. The bar wakes up instantly with your TV. It is the spouse-approved choice. The superpower of this bar is dialogue. If you are buying a soundbar because you're tired of asking, "What did he say?" every 5 minutes, this is your winner. Polk has this feature called Voice Adjust. It's not just an EQ preset. It isolates the center channel frequencies where human speech lives and boosts them independently of the background music. I tested this with Tenet, which is notoriously impossible to hear, and I could actually understand the dialogue without blowing my eardrums out during the action scenes. It's fantastic for late-night TV watchers. But we have to talk about the interference. The subwoofer connects wirelessly on a 2.4 GHz frequency. That's the same frequency as your microwave, your baby monitor, and older Wi-Fi routers. In my testing, if I had my mesh router node too close to the subwoofer, I'd get these random pops and crackles from the sub. It's interference. It's not a deal breaker for everyone. Moving the sub a few feet usually fixes it, but it's something to be aware of. Also, because you don't have those rear speakers, the surround sound is, well, it's front heavy. You get a nice wide wall of sound, but you never really feel like things are behind you. It's a massive upgrade over your TV speakers, but it's not a home theater in the same way the Vizio is. Now, if you own a Samsung TV, the math changes completely. This is the Samsung HW600, and this is where we get into the ecosystem trap.
Samsung has a feature called Q Symphony. Basically, instead of turning off your TV speakers when you plug in the bar, it uses them with the bar. The TV speakers handle the high-up ambient noise, and the bar handles the heavy lifting. Does it work? Actually, yes. It makes the soundstage feel massive. It lifts the audio so it sounds like it's coming from the center of the screen and not just the bar below it. If you have a Samsung TV from 2024 or later, this feature alone makes the Q600 worth looking at. However, Samsung does one thing that drives me absolutely insane: the display. On the Q600, the little screen that tells you the volume or the input is tiny, and it's located on the far right side behind the grill. If you're sitting dead center, which you should be, you can barely see it. You're pressing volume up, and you're just guessing where you're at until your ears start bleeding. And like the Polk, this is a 3.1.2 system, no rear speakers included. You can buy a rear speaker kit separately, the SWA9500S, but that adds another $150 to the price tag, pushing you way over our budget. Out of the box, it's a solid, punchy bar that plays nice with Samsung TVs, but as a standalone, it lacks the deep cinematic rumble of the Vizio. So we've covered the Cinema King, Vizio, and the Dialogue Specialist, Polk, and the ecosystem play, Samsung. But what if you want something smart? What if you want something that does Wi-Fi, AirPlay, and multi-room audio? That is where the price-to-performance ratio gets really, really tricky and where a lot of people get ripped off.
Now we enter the realm of the smart bar. This is where the money stops going into big subwoofers and starts going into software, Wi-Fi chips, and app development. This is for the person who cares as much about how the bar looks as how it sounds. And the king of this hill, for better or worse, is the Sonos Beam Gen 2. Sonos is the Apple of the audio world. You are paying a premium for the ecosystem. The Beam Gen 2 is $499. That is the absolute top of our budget. And what do you get in the box? Just the bar. No subwoofer, no rear speakers, just a bar and a power cord.
On paper, this is a terrible deal compared to the Vizio, but then you plug it in, you open the app, and it just connects. You tap your phone to the top of the bar for setup. It runs true play tuning, where you wave your phone around the room to calibrate the sound. It is seamless. But here's the truth bomb about the Sonos Beam. It claims to be a Dolby Atmos bar, but look at the top of it. There are no speakers pointing up. It is completely sealed. The Atmos here is 100% virtual. It uses phased arrays to beam sound toward your walls and hope it bounces back. Does it work? Sort of. It makes the soundstage feel remarkably wide, like the sound is coming from 3 feet to the left and right of the TV. But overhead? No. I watched Dune, the ornithopter scene. I didn't feel anything above me. It was a wall of sound, not a bubble. And the bass? Without a subwoofer, the Beam fights physics. It does a surprising job of faking bass by pushing those little drivers hard. But if you push the volume past 60%, the physics catch up. The bass thins out to protect the speakers from blowing. Here's the danger with Sonos. You buy the Beam and you love the clarity, but 6 months later you miss the rumble. You decide to add a subwoofer. The cheapest sub Sonos sells is the Sub Mini, and it costs $429. Suddenly, your $500 soundbar is a $900 system. That is the ecosystem tax. It's great, it's modular, but it is expensive. So if you want that smart experience, AirPlay 2, Wi-Fi streaming, app control, but you actually want real Atmos height effects, you have to look at the Bose Smart Soundbar 600. This is the direct rival to the Beam. Same price, $499, but look at the top. Those are real physical speakers pointing at your ceiling. This is a 3.0.2 system. Bose isn't faking the height, they're bouncing it off your roof. In my testing, the Bose 600 absolutely destroyed the Beam in terms of 3D spatial audio. When rain falls in a movie, the Bose makes you look up. The Beam just makes the front of the room sound loud.
However, the Bose sound signature is specific. It's very processed. Bose uses a lot of DSP, digital signal processing, to make things sound crisp and spacious, but it can sound a bit artificial compared to the warmer, more natural tone of the Sonos. And while the Bose app is good, it's not Sonos good. It's a bit clunkier. So between these two premium standalone bars, it comes down to this. Do you listen to more music or more movies? If you are 60% music, get the Sonos. It's warmer and the music streaming is superior. If you are 60% movies and you want that Atmos height effect without buying a subwoofer, get the Bose. Before we get to the final verdict, I need to issue a warning, a consumer protection alert. If you walk into Best Buy or Walmart, you are going to see a wall of soundbars. And right at eye level, you will see the Sony HT400 or similar 2.1 systems from LG or Samsung that cost around $200 to $300. Do not buy these, please. They are dinosaurs. A 2.1 system in 2026 is a bad investment. You're getting a left and a right speaker and a sub, no center channel. That means dialogue is mixed in with the explosions and music. You will constantly be riding the volume remote, turning it up to hear voices, then panic turning it down when the action starts. For the same money, $250 to $300, you can get the Vizio 5.1 system, the V series, the little brother to the M series we tested. It gives you a center channel and rear speakers. Buying a 2.1 bar for $300 today is like buying a 720p TV. Just don't do it. I also want to touch on one weird outlier that surprised me. The Roku
Introducing
Streambar
Roku
Pro.
Streambar
If you
Pro.
have an older, dumb TV,
Cinematic
maybe
sound
in a
and
guest room
powerful
or a
4K
garage,
streaming,
this
all
is a
in
hack.
one.
It's a soundbar
Hear
with a
every
4K
detail with
Roku
Dolby
built
Audio as the
inside of it.
premium drivers
Plug it
boost
into the
volume and clarity,
HDMI ARC
and
port,
listen
and
in
it
awe
upgrades
as
your TV's
virtual
interface
surround
and
fills
its
your
sound.
room with sound.
It's only $179.
Upgrade any
Now, it's
TV
just
with America's
stereo
#1
2.0,
TV
so
streaming
no sub,
platform.
no surround.
And enjoy
But
a
for secondary
customizable home
room,
screen
it
with your
is
favorite
brilliant.
channels front
It
and
creates a
center.
phantom center
Watch what
channel
you
that
love
makes
in
dialogue
brilliant
crystal
picture
clear.
quality.
Just
And
don't put
stream
it in
your favorite
main
music
home
in
theater
studio
and
quality
expect it to
sound.
rock the house. Okay,
Use the
we've
voice
looked at
remote
the
to control
specs,
your
we've
TV,
listened to the
streaming,
demos,
and
we've dealt
sound.
with the frustration
Plus,
of cheap
set
remotes and
personal
expensive
shortcuts for
ecosystems.
one-touch control.
It is time to rank
There's
these.
even
I have
a
broken
lost
this down
remote
into
finder.
3
Set up as a
specific
cinch
winners
with
because
everything
the
you
best
need in the
depends
box.
entirely on
And
your living
you
room
can
layout
easily
and your
expand for
patience for
even
wires.
bigger sound.
Here is exactly
Roku
how you should
Streambar
spend your
Pro.
$500.
It's the ultimate.
All right, let's wrap this up. I'm going to make this very simple. I'm not going to give you a top 5 list where everyone gets a participation trophy. I'm going to tell you exactly which one to buy based on who you are. Profile 1, the cinema first buyer. If you want your floor to shake, if you want to hear bullets whizzing past your left ear, if you are willing to hide a couple of wires and deal with a remote that looks like it came from a dollar store, you buy the Vizio M512A6H. Nothing else on this table beats it for pure audio performance. It is a 5.1.2 system for under $400. That is a unicorn. It is the only one here that gives you a true theatrical experience. Just maybe keep the receipt handy in case you get a bad unit with firmware gremlins. Profile 2, the set it and forget it buyer. If you live in an apartment, if you hate wires, if you want to stream music from your phone just as much as you watch TV, you buy the Sonos Beam Gen 2. It is the most expensive option here when you factor in the lack of a subwoofer, but it is also the only one that will never annoy you. The software is bulletproof, it holds its value better than anything else, and if you decide to move to a bigger house later, you can move this to the bedroom and buy the big Sonos Arc for the living room. It's an investment, not just a purchase. Profile 3, the Samsung Loyalist. If you already own a Samsung TV from the last 2 years, don't overthink it. Get the Samsung HWQ600. The Q Symphony feature is legitimate. It blends your TV speakers with the bar to create a wall of sound that is bigger than the bar itself. It fixes the sound is coming from the floor problem. Just make sure you check the model number. Grab the C or D series. They are virtually identical, so buy whichever one is cheaper on Amazon today.
Profile 4, the I just want to hear voices buyer. If you don't care about Atmos, if you don't care about Wi-Fi streaming, if you just want to stop using subtitles, get the Polk Signa S4. It is simple, it is slim, and the voice adjust tech is the best in the business for isolation. It's the bar I recommended to my own parents. Before you click any links, I need you to understand one thing about Dolby Atmos. Marketing teams want you to believe that a $400 soundbar is going to sound like an IMAX theater. It won't. Bouncing sound off the ceiling is cool science, but it depends entirely on your room. If you have vaulted ceilings or popcorn ceilings or a ceiling fan, the effect dies. Don't buy these bars just for the Atmos effects. Buy them because they have dedicated center channels for dialogue and subwoofers for depth. That is what matters 99% of the time. The overhead stuff is just the cherry on top. I've linked all the specific models I tested below. I also included a link to the specific HDMI cables I use, because believe it or not, using an old 2015 HDMI cable can actually break the eARC connection and cause audio dropouts. Don't let a $5 cable ruin a $500 sound system. If this saved you from buying a piece of plastic junk, hit that like button and let me know in the comments, are you Team Vizio Power or Team Sonos Smarts? I'm genuinely curious where you land. I'm Chris Walker. I'll see you in the next one.